I'm glad somebody's making this video. Cause this is something I always thought was, what if the Grand Priest here is actually the one that's in charge running things, and the Xenos are a cover up for him. Xenos are still all powerful, but what if he is actually that dude? This title is, oh, you can't see it. Clues hinting the Grand Priest is the true Omni King. That would be something if he's like the father of Zeno or something like that, not just Whis and the other angels. And I'm looking forward to seeing what those clues are. I didn't see any clues. It was just me observing, watching the show. Sorry, me observing, watching the show, and I'm like, huh. What if behind the scenes he's running everything? Everything. The Xenos can't even match him. What if that's the case? What if there's something with Whis and the other angels that we don't know about that makes them they're even better than the Xenos, and the Xenos are just the beings like his children that he lets take control, but he makes the final call. What if, but in front of everybody else, he lets them choose, but behind the scenes, he's like, nah, I'm in charge here. So we'll see. Let me look at this video. I'll put the original one in the description below. Shout out to Mastar or Mastar. Sorry if I got the name wrong, but I'll put your original video in the description below. Let's see these clues.
And Priest, the Dai Shinkan, was introduced. He is a very mysterious character, which leaves us with lots of questions as to what are his true intentions and how strong he is, and we want to know more about this character. Throughout the series of Dragon Ball Super, we've received several clues hinting that the Grand Priest is actually the real Omni King, so I'm going to go over those clues with you guys right here. The first and most obvious clue is in Dragon Ball Super episode 67, we learned that the Grand Priest is actually Whis' father. Now this is important because we were told that Whis and Vados are angels. Their life form is an angel. And if you think about this in a biblical sense, what is the father of an angel? It's God. So if Akira is taking this from a biblical perspective, that would make perfect sense that the Grand Priest, being the father to angels, is actually the real God. The second clue is in Dragon Ball Super episode 67, Goku pressed the Omni King button, the Zeno button, and he arrived. This threw everybody off guard because we're thinking Zeno, the Omni King, is omnipotent. He should be the same across all timelines. That would make sense. Now the fact that there's two Zenos doesn't really make sense. There shouldn't be two gods, leaving
that is true. I even think about that. Yeah, because when Goku went back to that universe and took Zeno to beat the other one, it was like, so he left the High Priest of that universe, but it's like, no, the High Priest is, of that timeline, but no, the High Priest is everywhere. That is a good point, because there's a different version of him, but not a different version of a High Priest. Interesting. I never thought of that.
There's either someone above Zeno or the Grand Priest is the actual true Omni King. Now here's another thing. In this timeline, we learned that there's also an additional Whis, there's an additional Beerus, there's basically a duplicate of everybody. Even the Omni King. The only person, the only character
I did not think of that.
We don't have confirmation there was a second of in that future is the Grand Priest. So to me, this is a huge clue that the Grand Priest is actually the real Omni King. Now, what are his true intentions? Why would he put Zeno in charge? That's a really, really good question. Zeno is unpredictable, he's destructive, and most of all, he's a child.
Yeah.
If you look at his personality, it's extremely childish. It's like he's a 3 or 4 year old. His stature says that to you. Which brings me to
He can be scary, though. He can be scary. Like how he looked at the Kai, the Supreme Kai. He was Goku standing right there. You be quiet. And it was like just the way he said that, looking at the Supreme Kai, like he's all excited, talking to Goku. The Supreme Kai talking over him. Oh, just please, this and that. Goku meant this and this and you be quiet.
It's extremely childish. It's like he's a 3 or 4 year old. Even his stature says that to you. Which brings me to clue 3 is that God would not act in this way. You'd expect God to be more mature, more calm, exactly the personality
the way he is.
That's the Grand Priest. And I think my theory on this is that Zeno is actually the child of the Omni King of the Grand Priest.
That's what I just said. Because I seriously doubt, like how you said how they're children, I seriously doubt Zeno's creating someone like the High Priest and Whis. He's even thinking about stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, when you think about, you know, the childlike behavior that Zeno has, he would never think about making a high priest and Whis and beer, all this other stuff. That's something that high priest would do, or the true king out there. So that does make sense. He just used his sons, I call it sons now, which is Zeno, to, you know, be in charge, but he's the true overseer. And he's the one who came up with Whis and Beerus and all that stuff. He's the one who orchestrated that.
Basically the apprentice to the Grand Priest. So that would explain his childish nature. That would explain why he just wants to have fun. It's because he's a kid. So if he is the youngest of God's children, meaning, you know, the angels and Zeno, that would explain his childish behavior. He could basically be a pretty newly created life form in comparison to the angels, who could be almost eternal. They could be there since almost the beginning of time. Now, if that's the case, you could argue, well, why aren't Whis and Vados in line to become the next Omni King? And why is the Grand Priest stepping down as the Omni King and basically handing it over to his child Zeno? Well, it's possible that he just wants to retire. If he's been doing this for eternity,
however long,
he
yeah,
just wants to step down eventually and let Zeno become the new Omni King. Now, this also explains why he's the attendant to the Omni King, because he's basically his father as well. So he's just making sure that he doesn't destroy the entire multiverse. He's training him and he's watching over him to make sure he doesn't make any mistake.
Sorry, I wanted to pause that, but it makes sense when you think of the Tournament of Power, how he was treating the Zenos. It was like he was their babysitter. It was like, you know, they couldn't see certain things. Oh, it's okay. Just sit there for a minute. Just look at this and we'll fix it up in a minute and all that stuff. And actually, let's just enjoy what we can do right now. That's basically like an order. He didn't ask them. He told them, all right, let's just, since we can. I think it was Frieza and Dispo. I believe that was it, because it was too fast for their little pads to see. And if I remember correctly, High Priest was like, let's just watch it for what it is and enjoy it. You know, enjoy what we can see. That wasn't a request. He just told them in the nicest way possible. But now you're thinking about, when I'm hearing this video, I'm like, yeah, the way he talked to them, he talked as a babysitter and as a adult supervisor. So, yeah, another clue.
He's training him and he's watching over him to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes. This would explain why he has guards, because he's a child. Even though he's the quote-unquote
I would love to know how powerful those guards are.
If he's basically invincible, unless he's just a child with a lot of power, but he still needs protection because he hasn't matured enough yet. As far as why Whis and Vados aren't next in line to become the Omni King, my theory on that is they are much, much older than Zeno is. So they were probably given the job to protect and guide the gods of destruction long before Zeno was incepted in order to become the new apprentice to the true Omni King, which is the Grand Priest. He probably created them for their only job, which is to guide those gods of destruction. That's why they basically turn off if the god of destruction is killed. So he created Zeno for a different purpose, and that is to be his apprentice, and that is to basically to take over the role of the Omni King. But he is basically overseeing him at this point. And to me, this all makes perfect sense, and I hope that Akira goes this way. And I hope you guys agree with me. If you have any other clues as to why he is the actual Omni King, please comment them below, because I'd love to hear it. Now, we're about to have the new space survival arc, the basically multiversal.
Alright, but yeah, that was a good clue that he pointed out. I didn't even think of that with the Goku Black Saga. There was 2 Zenos, not 2 of him. Yeah, I mean, when you watch the show, there are hints. There are a lot of hints where it's like, even when the first universe got obliterated and Goku looked up, he didn't look up at Zeno. He looked at the High Priest, and the High Priest just looked at him slowly and then had this smile. Even though Zeno's the one who made them go away, Goku looked at the High Priest, and then the High Priest just looked right at Goku. Like, yeah, I'm like that. And it wasn't even him that did anything. But it was like Goku knew who was calling the shots. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully they, like he said, they talk more about it. This video was 7 years ago. Wow. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get it, any breakdown of it later. Who knows? But yeah, let me know what your thoughts about it is. Is Zeno the one in charge, or is the High Priest? I'm saying the High Priest. I was already thinking that. That's why this video, when I saw the title, I was like, oh, this is perfect. I want to see what somebody else says about it. So shout out to him. I'll put the original video in the description below, and I'll check y'all later. See ya.